What is Saitama doing in the newest chapter of One Punch Man? Here on the cover of this latest chapter, we see Saitama standing in front of this gigantic stone doorway with a couple arches going over it. It doesn't really say exactly where he is, and since we don't have full translations yet, I can't quite tell what they're saying on the cover as well, but I mean, most of the time on One Punch Man covers, they don't really give you that much information. It's not like One Piece where you get all these cover stories and stuff that are really detailed and stuff, but it's very interesting to see Saitama in front of this place because we really haven't seen where he's been these last couple chapters, and to be honest, most of the time that Saitama's on a cover, it's just to look super cool or have some kind of action shot to just show off how strong he is or just remind us how strong he is, whatever. But in this particular case, it seems like it might be part of what he's been up to this entire time or what he might get into later. And what I thought was really interesting about this cover in particular is that it heavily reminded me about the Cruel Dragon storyline that happened, I don't know, what is it now, 10 chapters ago? Probably even more at this point, where Saitama finds out this legend about this super strong dragon that lived 1,000 or thousands of years ago or something, and he ended up speed blitzing all the temples to gather all the stones that were required for summoning the Cruel Dragon, and then he ends up one-shotting it. But the very interesting thing about that storyline that kind of left me wanting more is that way back in the Monster Association arc, kind of the climax of the Monster Association arc, during the battle between Saitama and Garo, we saw that as Garo straight up blasted Saitama into the earth and bolts the other side of the planet, that's how powerful the hit was. We saw that this plane carrying, I think it was students, a class trip or something, whatever. We saw that when the ground raised on the other side of the planet, that this temple was revealed, and it had this dragon in the front of it, very much resembled the Cruel Dragon that we saw back when Saitama fought it, right? And I don't know if this is one of the temples that Saitama speed blitzed to get one of the stones, he just did it off panel and we didn't see it, but I always thought it was kind of redundant to add that little scene of showing that temple being revealed from the bottom of the ocean, or it seems like the bottom of the ocean, just to not have it actually be displayed or showed during the whole mini Cruel Dragon plotline, right? Some people have theorized that this is the temple where the Moonblade is being stored because remember in the Monster Association arc, Atomic Samurai was tasked with finding the Moonblade because he now has the Sunblade, which he got from Nichiren, and he's apparently going to become super broken if he finds the other blade. So this might be the temple where the blade is stored, but at the same time, why would Saitama be here? Does this maybe allude to manga exclusive storyline where Saitama and Atomic Samurai kind of team up and find the Moonblade? I think that would be pretty cool, but to be honest, I don't know. I kind of looked at this chapter cover a little longer than I do most of them because normally it's just a cover of Fubuki or Tatsumaki or Saitama punching and looking super cool, but this one seems like it might have more to it. The rest of this chapter does not contain anything that has to do with Saitama. It actually picks up right from where the previous chapter left off. If you guys remember from the previous chapter, we left off with those two Neo leader candidates, both fighting Suiryu at the same time, and he's easily dodging all the punches. We were also getting introduced to other Neo leaders, kind of getting refreshed on the ones that we already saw and maybe getting official introductions with them. Also at the very end of this chapter, we get the reveal of two characters that I've definitely been waiting to see in this arc. They are theorized to be very, very, very strong and also very important because, not to spoil too much, but these two that we see at the end of this chapter are very heavily implied to be cyborgs that we've seen in the past. And again, this is just theory stuff, so it's not like I'm spoiling anything major here, but these people might be tied to the organization. And when anything that has to do with the organization comes up, you're going to want to pay attention because it's important stuff. But that being said, let's get into this chapter. Also, as I'm going through this chapter, if you guys can hear banging and stuff, it's because they're working on my roof right now. Sorry, I can't do anything about it. I apologize. I hope it doesn't bother you too much. But anyways, yeah, let's get into it. So the chapter opens up with these two Neo leader candidates fighting Suiryu, continuing from the previous chapter. And this is when Suiryu gets his official introduction because, to this point, Wild Emperor or whatever, Sekingar, Metal Bat, they haven't met Suiryu yet. It's just Saitama. He's the only Hero Association person that's met him. So he's getting his official introduction. And then immediately afterwards, we're getting the official introduction of another Neo leader. His name is A. And apparently he's an A-class bounty assassin, or he has an A-class bounty on him. So he's a convicted murderer, pretty much. They have a literal, almost a serial killer on the Neo leader team, which is super, super sketchy, but apparently he's very skilled, obviously skilled enough to be a Neo leader. He's more than likely more of like a stealth guy and can, do like, quick one-hit kills and stuff like that. He probably doesn't have very impressive like strength feats or anything. I don't know, I've always had weird vibes about this character in the webcomic. Like, I always wondered why one decided to add him as a Neo leader. Like, what's his whole story going to be? What's his whole background going to be? Even in the webcomic right now, you don't really know what he's about. So I'm going to be very interested to see like what details we discover about A in the future. Because, I mean, he's rumored to be very strong. So that's yet to be seen. Also, we get Wild Emperor's official introduction, and then we start getting these inner monologues from Child Emperor and Sekingar, kind of analyzing the Neo leaders that have been introduced so far. And they kind of have the same idea that I was getting, like, when I first read this, when I first was introduced to these Neo leaders. Like, Child Emperor is pointing out, we have a gang leader, a rich guy, a cult leader, someone that's been experimented on using like really risky human experimentation. Talking about Wavy Gaza, of course, because we just found out in the previous chapter that she's like almost entirely cyborg, like, Genos would be. So, the Neo leaders seem like pretty shady people. And then Child Emperor kind of like reminds the audience in a sense, like that he's there to uncover shady information, to expose the Neo heroes. That's kind of why he's there. So he's kind of reminded that, like, yeah, like these shady people being Neo leaders are exactly why I'm here and why Sekingar is here, because we have to figure out what the hell they're doing and how they're being funded. It also turns out that Super Alloy Darkshine is retired, but, we kind of already knew that. And he's also going to be a trainer for the Neo hero recruits. Darkshine says it's an honor, but Child Emperor kind of rebukes him and he's like, how can you say that this is an honor? You know what I mean? Like, you're not a hero anymore, you're kind of in the background. Which, I mean, it's some tough love, but it's true. Like, sure, Darkshine had his ego shattered in the Monster Association arc, but he threw in the towel pretty easily, which is kind of disappointing. But Metalback kind of tries to give him a pep talk a little bit, tries to raise his spirits, but Darkshine isn't having it. He's still having a hard time, obviously, and he storms out. But the Neo leader candidates, who I can't bother to check their names again, I'm pretty sure one of them's name is Mars Leo. I forgot the name of the other one, but they get pretty winded and they stop throwing punches at Suiryu because they obviously see that, like, all right, we can't beat this guy. But Mars Leo continues to throw punches at him, and this is when Suiryu kind of has like an inner monologue, and he starts thinking to himself, like, so this is what heroes look like this is what it looks like to be a hero, this is what it feels like. And he's thinking to himself, like, this doesn't feel the same. This doesn't seem like something that Saitama would be doing. And by the look of his face, he seems pretty disappointed at, how this has all been playing out. Hopefully this is a sign that Suiryu leaves the Neo leaders sooner rather than later, because I really want him to meet up with Saitama again and kind of have a conversation with him. I don't know, I have high hopes for Suiryu. I feel like he's going to have like a real shining moment in this arc, and he's always been not one of my favorite characters, but definitely one of the more entertaining characters in the series. He's always reminded me of like a Dragon Ball character, to be honest, so I definitely want to see more of him. But the important thing that we want to talk about is where this chapter ends, because we also get introduced to these two new executives. In the webcomic, they get introduced as kind of like consultants or people that are aiding the Neo heroes but aren't directly linked to them, so they're from some separate organization. But their names are Aramin and Destro. I mean, there's nothing too crazy about their designs. Also in the webcomic, they seem pretty basic, but as we're going to learn in future chapters, they are exceptionally strong. And these two characters are actually linked to a lot of theories among the fan base. One of which being that they are from the organization, like the big evil organization, the organization, right? And to take it further, I think I saw this in a Zonin video. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys that are One Punch Man fans, you know who Zonin is. I'm pretty sure the first time I saw this was in one of his videos, where he pointed out that he thinks that Airman and Destro are the organization robots that we saw like way at the beginning of the series. They tried taking out Hammerhead, and they were these like mysterious robots that apparently let them steal their battle suits to collect battle data. The theory is that these are the same cyborgs, but just with a kind of like a human skin costume in a way. And again, this isn't stuff that's been confirmed in the webcomics, so I'm not spoiling anything, but it's starting to get kind of exciting, to see these characters, to see this stuff that we've been kind of anticipating from the webcomic kind of come into fruition. I thought this was going to be revealed in this chapter, but we still have one more Neo leader that to be revealed that I think is going to really excite a lot of fans, and I can almost guarantee you that it's going to come in next chapter. I guess these chapters are just much shorter than we're used to, and it's probably going to stay that way, so we got to get used to it. Next chapter is definitely going to be a banger. I'm just going to speak it into existence, and it's going to happen, guys. We're going to have a banger of a chapter next chapter. So this one was pretty good, though. I'm not going to, have any complaints about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think about Airman and Destro? What do you think about the new Neo leader that got introduced, like his character design and stuff, and where things are going? Definitely curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. That is it for this video, though. Have an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next video.